So we're going to talk a little bit about core values and the impact that it has when you're specific about your values and not wishy-washy, not vague, not using some of the terms that are thrown about or bandied about by these big corporations that don't really mean anything. If you're going to go through the trouble of establishing and marketing what your values are, especially for your company and for your team, then they really need to mean something. So there are dozens of values that a company could select as important for itself. But not all values are equal, and that's what we need to recognize. There are many that are so vague or so bland or overused or trite that they've lost their meaning. And for a giant corporation or really a business of any size, that really becomes useless. And not only useless, it can actually decrease morale, which is just the opposite of what you're trying to do when you establish values. For instance, inclusion is a wonderful value, although it can be a bit of a scapegoat. So when you're working with this particular word in your values proposition, you need to ask yourself, inclusion for whom? For everyone? Really? People who have different political views than you, people who are children, people who are elderly. You've got to think about who am I really appealing to in my work and in my business ethic? Who am I really including? I'm not saying to be exclusionary, and I'm certainly not saying to be discriminatory, but what I'm saying is to be thoughtful about what you mean when you use that word. Honesty is another of these terms that's a little bit vague and a little bit trite at this point. Of course, we want our employees to be honest, and we expect the companies that we buy from to be honest. But many companies list honesty or transparency as their core values, and for the most part, these are rather empty. Of course, it's a baseline. Honesty should be the baseline. It shouldn't be your core value. It should be where everybody starts to begin with, and then you build your values on top of that. Another one that makes me roll my eyes a little bit is people first. It's a strange way of saying ahead of profits. We value our people, our team members, our customers, even more than we value profits, but it's a little unclear exactly what that means. Which people, all the time, first in front of what? So you really need to be sure that you're managing clarity and expectations when you develop your values and that everyone is clear and can rally behind what that means. And if it's vague or if it's trite, nobody's going to rally. So you want to avoid vague values. When a company uses vague language, it loses the trust of its team members and its audience, meaning its customers. To capture a loyal base, a company's values must be truly meaningful and direct. Consider these two words, slow and fast. These are values, and they aren't the typical bland, we will do our best type of value. Instead, a company may prioritize being slow, steady, conservative, and cautious. Many financial firms advertise this, for instance, and it's considered a beacon of trust for someone who is carefully managing your money, right? Another company may value speed, taking risks, moving quickly. Many tech innovators value this approach, and you can see the value behind it for keeping up with all the new ideas that are happening and being nimble and being able to pivot. There is no right or wrong. It's simply what inspires and motivates each company's team and customer. At least slow or fast are meaningful. They really stir up a meaningful dialogue among customers and team members, whereas bland terms such as honest or high quality have really lost their impact. They have lost their meaning in today's world. You also want to compare with others' perceptions. Some value terms appear great at first, but then when we think about how they'll be perceived, we might rethink them. The term adventurous could be seen as fun, whimsical, risk-taking, or fresh. However, when contrasted with accountable, it comes across perhaps as unprofessional or even unstable. So you've got to think about my term might be really great and relevant, but when I compare it to something else, how does it really uh, stand? Does it have legs to stand on? Companies must be sure about their values and ask these types of perception questions as they go through the inspiration process with their team. How will this value be perceived by the general public? Can we stand behind it? Do we all agree with it? And does it motivate us? Is it something that we can hold ourselves accountable to? That's a big question is can we not only stand behind this value as yeah, we believe in it, but we hold ourselves accountable to this value and we make all of our decisions based on this and other values that we've identified as really important to us. So another part of this process is being clear, using very clear value terms. Think about clarity, even if it's controversial. And being controversial is something I go into in my other lectures. Um, it can be a really powerful way to look at values. A value that cannot be accused of being vague or meaningless is feminist, for example. To value feminism, women-led, or women-empowered is to champion women's rights and to position your business as centered on equity and the appreciation of women and mothers. This is a fairly new value since like the 1960s that often stimulates controversy, especially in societies and businesses that have traditionally been more patriarchal. I personally believe that controversial values are the most useful types of values because they are so clear that there is no question what the company prioritizes. In an age of bland values, this can be refreshing, especially to Gen X, Gen Z, and millennials who demand transparency and accountability before spending their dollars or joining your team. They want to know upfront and in no uncertain terms what a company prioritizes. And reading a list of values or watching how a company implements their purpose is a great way to learn this. I have found that other clear values include rebellious, animal friendly, or minimalist, just to give some examples. These are very clear. There's no doubt how the company makes its decisions if it says we're rebellious or if it says we are animal friendly and that's what we stand behind, or if it says we're minimalist. You get a very strong picture of how the company operates based on those words, those terms that it identifies as its company core values. Again, there's no right or wrong here, but establishing clear values that indicate what a company does with its profits, how it treats its employees, and where it sources its ingredients is essential to communicating clearly with potential customers and team members. A company might shy away from being too clear and from spurring controversy because they don't want to lose customers. I think that's a mistake. I encourage businesses to stand strong in their beliefs and to communicate them very clearly. Customers and team members demand this type of upfront knowledge so that they can make informed decisions about whether to work for you, with you, or to purchase from you. As a natural and organic business consultant, I specialize in leading in-person retreats, workshops, and trainings where executives and or your team members can come together to identify and expand core values and the purpose of your company. Creating a mission statement is not enough. You can't simply have the board come together for a session where you play with words and you come up with a mission statement and then you put it on a shelf and it's never seen again. Or you post it on your website, but your company doesn't actually live by it or make their decisions based on it. To keep teams healthy and engaged, your company must invest in the ongoing process of exploring and identifying core values. And to propel your company forward with both employee retention and customer love, you should consider implementing a meaningful purpose throughout. What does this look like? I can help you with assessments, training and facilitation, online curriculum for both your executives and your team members, HR resources, and an implementation structure and process that can strengthen team unity. Contact me for more.